Hey, you like to be outdoors? You need some training. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We have Jacob with us today, and we're going to talk about what we need to do to learn how to survive outdoors. Hi, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be your host today on Art Chuck 101 with Jacob Fischer, and we're going to have some fun talking about training. Welcome to the show,
Absolutely.
Jacob.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little something about yourself so we can get to know you?
Sure. Well, my name is Jacob Fischer. I am the owner of Outdoor 101, which is a outdoor oriented training group out of Cleveland, Ohio. We do a little bit of everything. Archery is one of our bases. I am a U.S. Archery certified instructor, and we do everything from kids archery instruction all the way up to adults, and everything oriented from hunting based training to competition based training. And the girls that I was training this year, she actually uh, is looking to go to Penn State. She was talking to them about going on an archery scholarship. So that she's definitely one of the examples of our archery training program and how good it can be. Um, I also do a lot of first aid training, a lot of outdoor safety training, wilderness survival training, and firearms. Firearms and defense is a part of that. So we also do a lot of firearms specific training, whether it's your hunting gun or your concealed carry firearm. We train it all.
That's pretty cool. We mostly focus on archery in this podcast, but there's many times we get talking about, firearms. I grew up in high school, shit on a rifle team. And,
Awesome.
and when I went to, I forget which school it was. It might have been college. I was shooting a bow back in the 70s, where I was going to school. They had an archery range there, and my brother got one of the Bear Whitetail twos, and I was using that, and it wasn't until sometime in the 70s when I got my first compound bow, and I've been shooting guns, for a long time, and it's just all different sport. When I pick up my compound bow, I shoot one way. I pick up my recurve, I shoot a different way. I pick up the rifle, I shoot it differently. The shotgun, the handgun, they're all shot differently, and
That's
and
right.
that's kind of funny. Each weapon has its own unique properties, and the military even uses archery.
That's right, absolutely. And I actually was on or was a coach for the Marine Corps Paralympic shooting team when I was in the Marine Corps back between 2007 and 2013. I helped a lot of the disabled Marines uh, kind of find their way with archery, and that was right there in the Performance Archery Center in San Diego. We did a lot of good stuff with Marines to you know, give them an outlet outside of combat. And it was really fun. I found my passion in teaching people uh, why accuracy is interesting. All the way from David and Goliath, people have been interested at hurling objects accurately at a target, and they do it for all different manner of things, whether it is
Yeah,
for combat or whether it is for recreation sport or ultimately survival. It all kind of ties in hand, and whether you're uh, sweeping with a shotgun to shoot a clay or aiming in at a running rabbit with your recurve bow. It's funny that you said the bear whitetail story because my grandfather actually gave me a bear whitetail and was like, when you can draw this back, you can go hunting with a bow. And it was funny.
they were not the easiest bow to draw back. There
Not
wasn't
at
a lot of
all,
adjustment
not at
on
all.
them.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you moved the cable to one pin and you had 65% let off, and move it
Yeah,
to another
yeah, yeah.
pin, and I forget what the other amount was, but yeah, you're just taking a cable and moving them around and pulling them off and sticking them on other wheels, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It was pretty awesome. That was my first bow, was the bear whitetail, and I think it was a hand-me-down from my dad or my uncle, one of them. I know that I dug it out of my grandfather's garage and found some random laying around broadheads and Easton XX75 aluminum arrows. And that was my first hunting setup. I think I even carried them in my hand out to the tree stand the first time. I was all of 12 years old because I couldn't wait to get out with my bow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's pretty good when you go out there and you just get out there. It's like whatever it takes to get out there and go
That's
and
right. That's right.
kind
And
of gives you the
I've been kind of I've always found my way to get out there and go, actually this picture here behind me was from one of my hunting trips in Salt Fork, Ohio. I came across this old dock and it just looked like a picturesque scene, and my wife turned it into a photo, and I truly enjoy coming in here and seeing it. It's like a moment of serenity. But
yeah,
we've been my brother and myself, my brother actually is another Cleveland, but he has another Cleveland-based outdoor company that deals with fishing here out of Lake Erie. But he and I, we've been going out since we were kids, whether it was terrorizing the backwoods of Pennsylvania with our BB guns and 22s, or old bear whitetail bows and shooting at squirrels or whatever else would find its way around. And yeah, ultimately we have been hunting with our bows since we could pick them up.
yeah. That's what I hear a lot of stories, where they start young and go. I know I started back in the 60s, when I was maybe 5, 10 years old, I forget now, and at my
Hmm.
recurve, a 25-pound fiberglass Ben Pearson recurve. And I still have it. I won't shoot it because the fiberglass is starting to crack. But
I have one out there that actually is still kicking. It's still kicking in classes, actually. The old red and white Ben Pearson longbow, or recurve longbow, rather.
yeah, mine's kind of a yellow color, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's set up for bowfish, and I wanted bowfish with it, so I taped the bracket onto it, and I can't get my hand in it anymore now, but that's when I was like, 10, 11 years old.
I actually have one of the old bear. I think I picked it up secondhand. It's not one of the original ones that I hunted with, but I have a bear whitetail that I have set up for bow fishing here. And a friend of mine, Jimmy, would take this old John boat out on the Portage Lakes here in Ohio. They have some of the best carp fishing for bow fishing anyway. They all stick right up there on the top of the water, and it's pretty clear.
Yeah, that's good. I've been out a few times, and I was like, the big fish coming by. I'm shooting. It's like I miss it,
Oh
miss it.
man.
It's like I kept missing it, and then a gar comes swimming by. There's about an inch diameter. I
Yeah,
hit that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's like go figure. It's like
That's
I'm
the way it
missing everything
goes.
because I don't shoot my recurve a lot. But
Hmm.
it's like, uh, how come I hit this 1 inch fish, missing these that are 6 inches wide, and 12
Yeah.
inches long?
Well, you're more focused on the target. That's what it is you're more focused on where you want the arrow to go.
Yeah. And I don't use sights. I just look at the target and shoot. So
Yeah.
I don't do all the gapping and the string
Hmm.
walking, and I just look at the target, draw back and shoot.
Well,
And,
the instinctive way has uh, been tried and true for quite a long time, and
yeah.
I try and teach my students instinctive first. I think it's a bit easier that way for them to graduate to the easier levels, but
Yeah.
start with the hard stuff first. That way they can learn the principles and the fundamentals outside of all of the gadgetry.
Yeah, just keep it simple to start with, and don't worry about,
That's
the
right.
pins and stuff. And I can shoot my recurve fairly fast because I draw back with target, come back, anchor, and draw through.
Hmm.
Compound, yeah, I can't. I've tried to shoot them fast. I can't shoot them fast. It's a different weapon. I shoot them differently.
It
I
sure
come
is.
back, I got the kisser button and the peep and everything. I
Hmm.
just line all up and, look at my target, put the pins over it. And it's Like if I'm
Mm-hmm.
bow fishing or something like that, yeah, they're gone in the next lake by the time I get drawn back.
That's right. That's right. Uh, yeah, I enjoy shooting my traditional equipment. Actually, if you looked on any of my socials and stuff like that, you'd probably find a a picture of me with my son in our baby carrier backpack, and I was actually shooting my longbow, and you could see the limbs in the picture, and the I was at anchor when the camera actually snapped the picture. It was a pretty awesome picture for me. You know, it was like passing it
Yeah.
on. My son, he was 3 years old, I think, when he asked me for a bow, and I got him a wooden longbow, and he's been shooting ever since. My daughter, she's picked up that bow since then, and yeah, it's I appreciate that it was passed on to me, and I want to do my part to pass it on to not only my
Yeah.
kids, but anybody who wants the training. You know, I pride myself on taking anyone, whether, you know, they have a disability, whether they, you know, uh, whether they have some hurdle they want to, they have to get over, mental, physical, whatever. I pride myself on taking them all. So, anybody
Yeah.
who wants the training, and they can come by and train with Outdoor 101.
Now, if they want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
You can find me on my website, outdoor101.org. And we are, like I said, based out of Cleveland, Ohio. I also have all of my social platforms are Outdoor 101, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, yeah, you name it, we're on it. You know, it's a social world, and as much as I disagree with gravitating towards that miniature supercomputer that we all carry in our pockets,
Right.
it's the way the world communicates now, and as much as I don't like it, got to stay with it. You know, so
Right.
you can find
It's
me on them all.
and I'll put a link to different sites for you in the description.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll just have me send the links you want to put in there, and I'll put them in there in the description so you can get a hold of you
For
and talk with
sure,
what's
for
going
sure.
on. And um, I know if you want to go ahead and share your screen and show
Sure,
everybody a little bit about your company and your website and kind of some of the features that you carry, and
sure.
go ahead and do
Let
that.
me, let me pick that up. 1 second. I'm good with guns and bows and everything else, not so much with tech. All right,
Sometimes that's the hard part, right?
that's right. All right, I think it's sharing now. All
Yeah,
right,
it's
so
sharing.
here's my website, outdoor101.org. Like I said, we're based out of Cleveland, Ohio. This is actually one of my farms here, out of Ohio, where I was out doing some shooting, and that's one of my favorite rifles that was passed on by a good friend of me. He he gave it to me to hold on to about 2 weeks before he passed away, and I keep that as an homage to him right there in the middle of my
Yeah.
page. I love not only that picture but that rifle, and it
That M1
kind of
carbine.
signifies it. That's actually a Mini 14
Oh,
that
Mini 14.
he had tricked out and kind of worked on, but yeah, I really enjoy shooting that thing. Anyway, if we keep on through my website, you could see the some of our training mission here is to make sure that we give enthusiasts, whether they are archers, or they're firearms concealed carriers, or open carriers out in the wilderness, that we can give the appropriate amount of training to those that are seeking it. And a good portion of that is our training outside of the shooting sports. And that is through American Red Cross. We do first aid training, wilderness survival training. We do first aid, CPR, AED training. All of that stuff is found right here. We even do important stuff like babysitter training. People think about
Yeah.
getting themselves and their employees trained, but they will leave their kids with a high school student that has no training whatsoever. So, um, going here into the Red Cross tab is how you can get the people around you trained with the appropriate stuff. Um, we do, like I said, offer a lot of firearms training. Firearms is just a part of being in the outdoors, whether it's hunting with a firearm or using it for your self-defense. Being competent with firearms is absolutely important to navigating our world safely. So I do offer everything from basics of pistol to online training, depending on what your availability is. Training shouldn't be blocked off to you. So if you have to get the training in online, then I offer that too. I have concealed carry training. Like I said, carrying a firearm is a part of everyday life, not just living in the outdoors. So you have to be competent enough to put that firearm on your body and confident enough to carry it with you on a daily basis. And that's making sure that you're legally, morally, and financially safe, aside from physically safe, should you ever have to use a firearm for your self-defense. I do pride myself on bringing a lot of higher end training to the Northeast Ohio region. I am very cognizant of staying in my lane. We talked about how I was a U.S. Marine, but I was an aircraft mechanic. I wasn't kicking indoors. I wasn't, doing those things that you associate with being a Marine. But I know people and I am friends with people. So I bring those people in to do the training that they do best. This year in particular, I have world champion Bob Vogel. He's coming in for a 2-day competition oriented pistol course. That's in April.
Cool.
And then a lot of people, they might have heard of the Warrior Poet Society. They are a firearms training group out of Georgia. And a couple of Army Rangers, John Lovell and Paul Perkison, they run a great training program for both pistol and rifle familiarization, along with a lot of other stuff. They also have a TV channel and you name it, they do it out there. But he's coming up for a 5-day course, 2 days pistol, 3 days rifle, and all of these are links to those classes. If you click on those, then it'll take you straight to their website, so you can sign up for their classes that I am hosting. So that's pretty cool there too. Oh no. Um, yeah, like I said, good with guns, not with tech. Another thing that I'm passionate about is giving back to my community. Okay. There were times that were tough on me throughout my life. One reason or the next, I have needed help from outside sources. And I recognize that I don't necessarily need that help now, but I can able to provide it to people who do. This one here has, I haven't had a chance to get with my web guy to update the website yet, but this was a raffle that I did in January to provide for the Future Anglers Foundation of Northeast Ohio. It's getting kids and underprivileged youth out into the outdoors and into fishing. That's through my brother and, like I said, the Future Anglers Foundation of Northeast Ohio. We raffled off a M1 Thompson. It's a true replica of the World War uh, II Tommy gun. This was, other than the barrel length and the bolt design, it was an exact replica made by the Auto Ordnance Company that made the Thompsons of old, including the old gangster Tommy guns. Um, this month we have another raffle. This is for the Susan Kraft Lung Transplant Foundation. This is a good friend of mine. She was impacted by COVID. She spent her 30th birthday in the ICU. She had her lung transplant before her first wedding anniversary. Um, Truly a a heartbreaking story, but she has been recovering from her lung transplant and she's doing better than ever now. She still has struggles every single day, and she wanted to give back to her transplant community because she saw the lack of care and lack of resources there. So she started her own foundation. That's the Susan Kraft Lung Transplant Foundation. And this month we are doing a raffle for her. That is this one here. So if you clicked on her link and navigate back to this page, we're doing a raffle for a Dan Wesson 1911. It's a $2,500 pistol. We can ship to any FFL in the nation. And that allows third-party transfers. It's only $25 for a single ticket, or we have higher end ticket packages available. So 1, 3, and 7 tickets, and the price varies depending on that. But that's just my way of giving back to people that I've been impacted by, right? And other than that, I have many different training offerings, right? From firearms training to archery training to American Red Cross. Like I said, if you are looking to train in the outdoors, Outdoor 101 is kind of your place. All right. We have an ongoing series every other Wednesday in Streetsboro, Ohio. That's right here next to me. We call it the practical application of shooting. So it's not only firearms fundamentals, but the use of firearms fundamentals and the applications of force and things like that. Um, the speed competition course is listed here. Uh, Different courses I have coming up, like the fundamentals of pistol shooting or red dot pistols. This just got posted today. This is a full weekend retreat that I have planned with the NRA and the USCCA here in Ohio, the Well Armed Women Association and the NRA Women on Target Association are coming together to put this course on with me. This is the Fight Like a Girl weekend. We are going to be doing anything and everything related to women's self-defense, whether it's break contact with different contact type weapons like Kubatons or what have you, type contact type weapons, pepper spray, tasers, and then ultimately firearms and stuff like that. And it is a full women empowerment weekend. I have two supremely, excuse my language, but bad at chicks that are going to head this up. Candy Petticord and Lisa Cardone, like I said, with the Well Armed Women Association and then NRA Women on Target. They're going to head up this class for me. And yep, ladies, they're going to let you shoot me with pepper spray.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm gonna get it, and it's okay. I've had it before, and we'll just chalk this one up to experience. But it's okay. We just opened up registration for that class today. It'll be extremely fun. We, like I said, we train everything from kids to adults in everything from archery to firearms to first aid, AED, and CPR training through the American Red Cross. Um, it's only possible our through our sponsors, and our sponsors are really great. I don't promote products that I don't use, and I wouldn't put anything out to my students that I wouldn't think is the best stuff out there. So Firearms Legal Protection is who I choose for my self-defense legal coverage. Not only are they the cheapest out there, but they have the most comprehensive coverage. Like I said, I use them for my own self-defense. I encourage all my students to use them. You can sign up through here, through my affiliate link right here on my website. like I said, the American Red Cross has been one of my sponsors from the beginning. Uh, Core essential gun belts. I've carried them for several years before I even had a training organization. And they were also one of the first people to say, yeah, we'll sponsor you. And they believed in me from the beginning and have helped me get products to my students and things like that. Blade Tech Holsters is a local company right here out of Streetsboro, Ohio, that provides some of the best Kydex holsters around. Um, this one is more applicable to us here on the Archery Podcast. Rogue Bowstrings. They're based out of Ohio, and this company has provided some of the best bowstrings around. The mastermind behind it, he came from America's Best Bowstrings, and knew that he could do it a little bit better, and created Rogue Bowstrings. The formula is still there. They're still creating great products. This was actually riding on my bow this year when I shot my elk in Montana. It is absolutely a tack driver on my bow every single year. I love Rogue bowstrings. The R21 is the only thing that will end up on my bow. We also have affiliate links with the NRA and USCCA. If you are interested in joining with those guys, we kind of do a little bit of everything. So we also have some merchandise if you're interested in getting any of our gear and supporting us that way. We, like I said, we kind of pride ourselves on bringing training to everyone. We uh, I truly enjoy raising the level of awareness and confidence in my area. Anybody who's seeking training is seeking to become more confident in their world. And not that I think I'm the best at that, but I definitely have people that can get you as confident and as competent as you want to be, whether it's archery, firearms, first aid, doesn't matter. It's all a way to become more secure in your world, and that's what I like. That's what I enjoy. So
Yeah, a lot of great information there, and the first aid training is something that everybody should have. If you're going to be outdoors, how if you get hurt, how do you take care of it?
yeah, yeah,
Anywhere, wintertime, we all know wintertime, your hands get cut very easy on stuff. You might
mm-hmm,
grab the tree, and it's like, oh, you're bleeding. It's like, oh, how'd I do that? So you need to
yep,
have something to take care of it. If you get more serious injury, then how do you take care of it? And I always carry first aid stuff with me. When in my backpack, I've got some first aid stuff because I just want to make sure I have, the basic stuff. And I'm in back of my trunk, I got a first aid kit, in the back of my trunk in my car. So I
oh
always
yeah,
have something with, now if it's a major problem, I may not have the stuff for that, but um, most minor things you can take care of, and that's what you need. You need to have some of that and know how to use it. That's the problem is
yeah,
if you don't
yeah,
have it and don't know how to use it, don't do any good. Now you're depending on somebody else.
yeah. And people take advantage of the small things like recognizing that a problem is actually happening. Cardiac arrest looks much like somebody falling asleep, and it doesn't quite look like it does in the movies where somebody's grabbing their chest and laboring over. Sometimes it might, but other times it may not. And I've seen different situations in my world that people have needed this advanced training, whether they thought that they did or did not. Um, my wife had an uncle that passed away while he was out having a good time with the rest of his friends, and they thought that he had just fallen asleep at a table, and here he was in cardiac arrest. A little bit of recognition could have helped that situation quite a bit, and an AED could have possibly been the thing that saved him. Um, so it's not just like you said, knowing things exist or having the tools available. It's also recognizing when a problem is actually happening.
Yeah, if you're out with somebody and all of a sudden they fall asleep, it's like, why would all of a sudden they just fall asleep?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, if you're out really late, yeah, it could be, and drinking, well, it could be you just passed out. But you know, if they haven't been drinking that heavy and just been out hanging out and all of a sudden they fall asleep, you got to check something's going on. You know,
Right.
it could be just a diabetic, you know, problem, you
Yeah.
know,
Even
so,
there.
you know, check on them and see. And
Mm-hmm.
you know how your friends act, and if they're acting differently, then
Mm-hmm.
you know that's something you might need to be aware of. And that's where
Yeah.
training like you
Yeah.
provide is really good for that. You know, now what do I do?
Right.
You can't
Absolutely.
call
And
911. They're not going
yeah.
to get there in time.
Yeah. You know, there's a good saying amongst the training community that when moments count, help is minutes away. So
Right,
you can recognize that a life and death situation is happening and think, hey, I need to call the police or I need to call an ambulance or whatever. And those people still have to drive to you, you know?
right.
So
Yeah,
it takes, and I don't know about you, the more rural areas, you know, they, that lead time starts to grow.
right.
So it can go everywhere. In my area, like downtown Cleveland, the response time is somewhere in the 4 minute area. And then if you travel just outside of Cleveland to the areas like Ashtabula and things like that, response time grows to like 7, 8, and even as many as 15 minutes in some areas of northeastern Ohio. So what do you do? You know,
Right.
things like uh, an arterial bleed, or you know, when somebody slips on the ice and hits their head on a rock. You know, how do you stop that bleeding? And do you have the tools there to stop that type of bleeding, you know?
Yeah.
And like you said, maybe somebody had been drinking a little bit, or you know, had something else in their system that made their blood a bit thinner, and now your situation has worsened quite substantially.
Right.
So you know, even though you may not be engaging in high risk activity, you know, the opportunity to save somebody is still very real and present, you know, no matter where you are at in life, you know, whether you're going to Cracker Barrel with your elderly grandparents or
Yeah.
uh, or I'm making the joke because I go to Cracker Barrel with my grandmother. But whether
I
you're
would be the
there,
grandpa that you're going with, you know.
I was recognizing that as I was saying it. But yeah, it can come anywhere, and you know, it it's more of a saying in the firearms community that your attacker gets to choose the battleground, but it's the same anywhere. You're never going to choose when you could face somebody with a heart attack, or I was actually in downtown San Diego when I think she was 82, they said, when she just missed her step and she fell over, and um, she was bleeding from her head all the way down the side of her face, her hands, because her skin was quite a bit thinner than you know what mine is.
Yeah.
Uh, her skin was thin, and she had scuffs from the top of her head all the way down her face, her hands, and you know, there wasn't a med kit in sight at that point. And I realized quickly that, yeah, you know, yeah, that's easy stuff that I can carry, and that if I happen to see something like that, I very well could be the one that saves somebody, you know. And
Yeah.
um, if I can just, if I inconvenience myself with a half a pound worth of junk that I may never need, then hey, the one time I do need it, I'm pretty glad that I have it. So,
Yeah. Well, like you can say it's like, well, why do you have car insurance?
mhm, Yeah, that's right.
Are you planning on getting in an accident?
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's just
I
in case.
yeah,
Yeah, and
just
the
like
same thing when so he says, well, why you carry a firearm?
well,
Well,
I'd
just
rather
in
need
case
it
I
and
need
not
it.
have it than not, have
Yeah,
it, or I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
right. And it's just
Uh,
you just gets to be a habit, and you just always have it with you, and it's just
mhm.
something that's there. And I always thought, if you carry deadly force, you need to have another option. So I carry an OC spray.
It's not just something that I say, it's something I do on a daily basis. Actually, I have my Kubaton and OC right here. I took it out of my pocket. Uh, I must have dropped it. I had it. It's not something that I say, it's something that I do because it's
Yeah,
important. In my state, Ohio, you have the obligation to use a lesser means of force if it's able to be used to stop a threat. So first that has to be available, and you have to have the knowledge to use it.
right,
And I would sure rather uh, douse somebody with some hot sauce in the eyeballs than shoot them. I don't want to ever have to kill somebody. And
right,
I may carry a gun, a deadly force implement, I'm absolutely willing to use it if I should need it. But that doesn't mean that I want to,
right.
and nobody should have that mentality, you know what I mean? I don't think that anybody, at least nobody that I've come across in the firearms community, has that mentality.
No,
They're
that's
not
the criminals.
offensively using it. Right.
That's their
Yeah.
mentality.
Right. Right.
Well,
They're not
and I
coming at me
had
for.
I had 20 years of Hapkido. So
Okay.
my first instinct is that, not
Yeah.
going to the gun. And um, my dad's girlfriend at one time, her son was a cop.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're talking, like, so what kind of range your gun's not effective for you anyway. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, okay, all I had to do was just pretend to draw. And he was, I forget how far it was, 10, 15 feet away.
Mm-hmm.
I aborted all that and I went for my training that I'd done for
Mm-hmm.
years and years and years. I deflected and what I just, that was just instinct because I'd had
Yep.
the training for it. So I didn't need anything else. But if I'm going to carry the gun,
Mm-hmm.
I I carry an OC spray because sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
can't carry the gun like at work. I can have it, but it's got to stay in my locked car. But I have a
Yep.
lockbox inside of my locked car. So I
Mm-hmm.
have it there. So as I'm driving in and out, it's just fine. I have it with me. And you know, when I'm carrying, like, kind of go in a restaurant, it's like I've always sat with my back facing away from the door. I just
Mm-hmm.
I've done that for decades. And
Mm-hmm.
so now when I go in there because I have the gun, I was like, okay, if something comes down, where can I shoot? What's the safe
Right.
direction? Because if I miss, what's behind that person? So I'm always thinking about, okay, what is a safe place? And it's like, there isn't any.
Yeah.
So my
Yeah.
option is not to use it.
Yeah.
Besides, it's
Well,
easier to sneak out the OC spray than it is a gun.
sure, sure. But there too, yeah, you catch a wrong wind, and that OC spray is very much used on yourself.
Right, right,
And they're using a firearm, whether it's on a range or in a department store. I still have to adhere to my laws of safe gun handling. That's what
right,
keeps me safe in using it. So, never pointing a weapon at anything I do not intend to shoot without proper safety measures to do so, like a
right,
solid holster or the safest possible direction in a concealed carry situation. Um, or keeping my gun unloaded until it is employed, like the firearm that I'm carrying, that's employed. The firearm that is in my safe for stored reasons, then no, the ammunition's not anywhere near those firearms, right? Because, and in fact, I make it a point to tell my students that you're locking up your firearm, you should lock up the ammunition as well. So my stored guns, right, the rifles and stuff like that that I take out west or whatever, the rifles are locked up, and then I have a separate location where the ammunition is locked up. I recognize that there are three parts to the firearms accident triangle. There is the firearm, obviously. There is
Right.
ammunition, obviously, but the last part is an operator. Physics matter, and anything, an object at rest is tending to stay at rest until acted upon by another object, which,
Right.
in a firearms case, is a human, and this little booger hook that gets us all in trouble. So,
Yeah.
and the same thing with archery. Like a bow's never going to pick up and dry fire itself. I actually was in San Diego when at the Balboa archery fields when a kid was shot by a bow. He was down getting his arrows arrow, I'm sorry. He was down getting his arrows when somebody decided to shoot at the target next to him, and they had an accident and shot at the wrong target, and he was hit by the arrow. So adhering to these safety principles and being situationally aware is how we all stay safe. So
Right. And what I talked about, when I'm out with my gun, I always make sure the target with the bow, you gotta do the same thing. You're sitting in
mm-hmm,
your tree stand. You got to know what the target is. You can't assume because you hear a noise and see something walking by that it's a deer.
mm-hmm,
We actually had an incident here in Nebraska where a hunter was. That's when I had my store, and they both had come in the store, so I was able to get both sides of the story. The one guy was just walking out. It was, right, toward at the after just after shooting time, and he was walking out and didn't have his flashlight on because enough moon, he didn't really need it. And the guy in the tree stand, he heard a noise and he seen it and he come walking by, so he shot what he thought was the deer. And we all know if we've been in the forest, it's starting to get light. You swear there's a deer standing right there. They'd been standing
mm-hmm,
there all night long. Ever since you can
mm-hmm,
start seeing his shadow, and it's a tree.
mm-hmm.
Or all of a
Sure
sudden you've been
is.
watching this tree all day long, and all of a sudden it's starting to get dark, and it's like looks like a deer.
Mm-hmm,
Um, if you've been in the forest much during sunrise, sunset, you've seen it. It's like
mm-hmm.
that looks like a deer, and it wasn't
Yep,
a deer. So that's
yep,
why you got to make sure of what your target is, as
mm-hmm,
well as what's beyond your target and in front of your target.
mm-hmm.
You know,
And to the left and
uh,
the right.
yeah, where is it at?
Right. I tell this story all the time of a friend of mine who shot at a buck and ended up killing the doe that was in front of it and walking past. He didn't take note of that. And by the time he released the arrow, the doe had made her way into the sight picture and the buck was not there. And so
Yeah,
the doe is what he claimed.
yeah, not what he wanted, but that's what you shot, you killed.
That's what he got.
That's your trophy. And you know, there's a lot that seem to think that um, you got to shoot a buck. You got to shoot a buck. That's the ultimate. Shoot a big buck. You
Hmm.
know what? The does taste better.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? The younger, the better they taste.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I tend to go out for a buck every year, but I buy a doe tag every year too.
Oh yeah.
And you know what? My freezer's mostly filled with the doe. And I
Yeah.
think I'm on um this year was close to uh it's either 8 or 9 years that my family has been sustained entirely by wild game meat. We haven't had to buy red meat from a store in 8 or 9 years. And you know what? As long as I can help it, I am going to continue that trend.
Yeah.
The meat is cleaner. I know where it comes from. I my kids think it tastes better. I do too. Wild game meat is what sustains my family, whether it's deer or fish or elk. Um, we haven't gotten around to raising chickens yet because, I've been around there and they smell. Uh, but
But they leave what's good for the garden though.
that's true. That is true. That is true. But anyway, I we have been sustaining ourselves on meat and produce from our own our own natural surroundings, and that's another part of it. Self-sustainability. It's just not something that is common with my era and was common in previous eras.
Right,
Um, uh, Everybody thinks that the store is always going to be open. Everybody thinks that FEMA is going to bring them water when Katrina floods the borders. And you know what? It's just not the case. Even when
no,
Katrina came through, it took them 3 weeks to get water down to Louisiana. Um, uh, you are your own self-defense. You are your own first response. You need to make provisions for such. You need to
right,
when somebody locks down the stores and say that you can only have so much, well, you need to be able to still provide. You need to
right,
be able
yeah,
to, yeah, there's people that count on you, so you need to be able to do those things. And I've only found, found only the solution to, or the only solution to anxiety is preparedness. Whether
yeah,
you're anxious about societal collapse or EMP or whatever disaster you think might come naturally, um, the only way through that is preparing yourself for the worst and hoping for the best.
right,
I hope the best comes, and I truly don't ever want to have any conflict with anyone out in town because people are crazy nowadays. But
yeah,
preparing myself for that worst day of my life is how I get to enjoy the best days of my life. So it's just been a personal motto and kind of plan of mine is just prepare for the worst and be happy when the best comes.
yeah. Yeah, we got a couple comments in the group. One comment from Janice is, "You can find some really cool stuff in your parents' garage." She
Sure
posted that. We was talking about,
can.
finding stuff, and then Joe said, first aid should be mandatory thing to learn for all situations.
I believe
And
so. Yeah.
yeah, and that's true. We just, yeah, you need to know, um, how to
Mm-hmm.
do basic stuff. What do you do if you
Basic
cut
stuff.
yourself, and how do you take care of it? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I've done that. It's like, oh man, super glue. Just
Yeah.
made
Yeah.
a super glue bandage, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that solved the problem. And sometimes it bleeds enough underneath, but then once it gets done, it comes off and it's healed up, and away you go. And
That's right.
so just little things like it wasn't you know surgical grade super glue, but it was super glue.
Hey, it's super
Thick
glue
CA
and it
glue
works.
that I use in archery. And
I got a few scars on my hands that have come by way of whether it's my outdoor endeavors or I'm a mechanic by trade. I aircraft mechanic. I work on private aviation fleets here in Ohio, and yeah, I can't tell you how many cuts and nicks I've mended with super glue.
it's some pretty good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, when you go along, you got to keep it clean. You get
That's
it
right.
dirty. If you cut it a little bit of flap, you just put it down and put a little super glue on it. Make sure you don't glue your fingers together. But
Mm-hmm.
there you go. Now it's protected. It's covered. Band-aids get dirty and fall off. The super glue takes a
Mm-hmm.
while to come off. So yeah,
Yep. Sure does. And most of the time it stops bleeding right away. So
yeah, yeah. It
my
stops it
wife
pretty
yells at
quick.
me whenever I reach for the super glue, but you know what? It's my hand. I'll do what I want.
It won't hurt you, you know.
That's right.
I wouldn't try eating it or nothing, but other than that might not work too well.
Yeah. Probably won't work out in your favor, that's for sure.
No. Yeah, it's been real interesting, hearing all the different stories that you have and all the different things you have to offer. And, and anybody that's looking to get some training, definitely get a hold of you because looks like you have the whole range, from archery, learn outdoor skills, learn first aid, which is always really good.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of places have an AED, but how do you use them? I've never
Right.
really been trained with them. They're there.
Mm-hmm.
You see, like there'd be a sign that says there's one here. Actually, where it's at, I'm not exactly sure, but how to use it, I wouldn't know how to use it because I've never been shown how to use it. And
Right.
that's something that I think we should all take it upon ourselves to, if nothing else, watch a YouTube video of how to set it up and how to use it. So at least you have some idea when the time comes.
Yeah, I mean, at least exposure to the basic, at least the 3 to 4 basic types of AEDs that you're going to find out there. There's only a few, and there's a reason for that. And if you expose yourself to them and what their prompts are and how their pads come and where they might be hiding and things like that, because they might be in different places of the bag that they're stored in or box that they're
Yeah,
stored
yeah.
in. And furthermore, like being able to find them
You're right.
and know how to get to them in the case of needing them, right?
Because
Because, like
you
I
only got
said,
seconds.
you only got a second, yeah. And when help is needed, or when moments count, help is only a few minutes away. So,
Yeah,
yeah, and from my own experiences, I've seen life slip away very, very, very easily, and uh, you you're always left wondering, like, if somebody recognized that, could it have changed the situation? If somebody had a medical kit, if somebody could have stopped that bleeding, if somebody could have, just had the tools and the wherewithal to use them, then somebody could
yeah,
be here today. And that's kind of my goal in life, is to ensure that people have I definitely don't have all the answers. I'm very cognizant of staying in my lane. Like I said, I'm not the best firearms trainer or archery trainer out there, but I got friends, and I'm gonna get you the best training that I can get you. So uh, it's truly my goal to ensure that the society around me is both confident and competent enough to save my life should they ever need it.
yeah. Well, you don't have to know everything, just have to know who does. And then get
That's
a hold of
right.
them and bring them in and there you go. You don't have to be the expert, just a coordinator.
That's right. Thankfully, Steve Jobs and all the smart people around him came up with these little smart devices that I put in my pocket, and I can call people.
Yeah. Well, it's been great talking with you. I
Absolutely.
know
It's
we
been
got to
fun.
go. We'll have to do this again and come
For
back
sure.
and do this again sometime and continue on our conversation and see what's going on in your world. That it's going to change every week. It probably changes, and we
That's
just
right.
need to get a hold of you and say, hey,
That's
let's
right.
let's
That's
update.
right.
Let's catch up on what things are going on and what new things are coming out. And there's a lot of things that we can do subjects on. We can do one just on first aid.
That's right. Absolutely, we
There's a
can.
lot of things we can do that. So yeah, we can plan on like, we could do one just on one aspect of what you do and that could be a whole podcast just in what you need for safety and what you need to carry with you and how to use it and we can do some lot of training. So yeah,
For sure.
let's plan on getting you back on and covering some of these other things that you have such knowledge in and or bring somebody else on with you that has more knowledge.
That's
We're
right.
we're open
That's
for
right.
that too. So anything
Well,
to
cool.
provide value to the listeners and those who are watching, That's what we do. Yours is Outdoor 101, mine's Arch Talk 101, because we want to help people. That's the
That's
beginning
right.
of helping. That's why I named it 101, because let's help the beginners get started, and in
Yep.
advanced as well. So you kind
Hmm.
of in the same scheme here. It's like, let's help beginners out and go along from there.
Well, I went with 101 because you got to start somewhere. Whether it
Right.
is baseline first aid or eh, you're starting out, you never bought a gun before, you never seen a gun before. I just trained this guy from India. He came in, uh, now lives in the United States and never had a firearm in his hand before. I just trained a doctor that he just had his first exposure into archery. And, it's 101 because we all have to start somewhere.
Right.
So, yeah, I definitely appreciate you having me on. I had a lot of fun doing this, and hopefully I brought something of value of value to your
I
podcast
I
and
learned, so
people to sleep.
I'm
So
okay. If somebody else learned, it's great.
good, good, good. Well, I appreciate you having me on, and definitely let's do this again.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be a lot of fun. So, uh, for those that are watching, thanks for watching this far. And remember, you can catch the video part in our Stuck One on Facebook group. It's on my YouTube channel, Learn to Fix It Yourself. The audio comes out on Fridays and Mondays. The video on the YouTube channel is on Tuesdays and Saturdays. And you can listen on Spotify. You got the Apple Podcasts. You have Audible. You can go out there and listen to it. So there's a lot of places you can listen to it and watch it. You can also go out to archtalk101.com on that website as well, and you can get a lot of information out there as well. So I've been honored to have you on as a guest. And my name is Roy Canterbury, and I've been the host on Arch Talk 101, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks. See ya.